Zafar Masud Saab, and it's really a privilege to have him here today and on this keynote upon food economy and financing. Zafar Masud Saab is an international banker, an entrepreneur currently serving as the president and CEO of one of the leading banks of Pakistan, the Bank of Punjab. He remained also a member of the IMF Motivated Task Force on framing SOE law set up by Ministry of Finance. Sir, thank you very much for coming here, and everybody is so anxious to listen to your talk. I would request even besides the food economy and finance, if you can just utter a bit of story about what happened that day, and if you can recall some of the memories, and you can share with us that inspirational story also. Thank you very much, sir. Please.
Thank you very much. Really put me on the spot today because of three reasons. Ek to Mudassar Riaz Malik Saab is an inspiration, and I personally believe we gain inspiration from each other. Everybody has to offer something, and this is what we need to find. There are a lot of students here, and I want to leave this message with them. Everybody is inspiration for the others. Try and learn and improve yourself. Mudassar is really an inspiration for public servants. We have worked with him on 3 or 4 projects, and he's always been exceptional. Even today, you can see this kind of event happening under public sector, auspices is something which is unheard of, which is unprecedented. Secondly, the time that has been given to me is a very wrong time. It's between a very enlightened talk and also, between lunch. So I'll try and rush this so that, our priorities are right. Food is the priority for us, so I don't spend too much time on talking about. And the third one, of course, the topic that's been given to me is slightly, I would say colorless. The discussion that we had was very colorful. So anyways, I'll try and do the justice and try and make it more colorful and engaging with you all, and then followed by question and answer. And as Mudassar said, I'll talk about a few of my learnings from the air crash. This is indeed a pleasure to be here and share my thoughts on this very important topic of food economy and the policy making that determines its financing. But first of all, I would like to formally compliment DG Punjab Food Authority, Mudassar Riaz Malik Saab, and his team, Umair, I met outside, for organizing this very successful festival in Lahore. As we all know that Lahoris live for food and not the other way around like the rest of the world, where people have food to live, will live for food. Events like these in our beloved city becomes even more relevant and important. We are very pleased to be the title sponsor of this gala. Food plays a major role in our lives, and as it affects everything from economic growth to individual health. However, how can we ensure that the global food policies provide safe, nutritious, and affordable food for all, considering the challenges around, which is the moot point globally today? And this festival, this conference, is just topical in that context. As we look at the global food economy, we understand the dire need to focus only on yield productivity, but also on the financing options and infrastructure necessary to make sure everyone is able to get access to food. Global food security has become a priority as an increasing number of people are affected by poverty and instability. In order to meet these challenges, governments around the world have implemented various strategies to increase yield productivity, strengthen infrastructure, and provide financial assistance for those in need of it. However, It is not enough to simply increase food production. Sustainable policies must also be put in place to ensure that all individuals, regardless of where they live, have access to same level of nutrition and health benefits, and growers of agriculture produce get adequate return on their produce. There are lots of farmers sitting here, and I wanted to advocate on their behalf that the return to them should be adequate. We should not try and shortchange them. Global food policies are key in achieving this goal, as they help coordinate efforts between national governments and international organizations so that no one is left behind. With a comprehensive strategy for food security and economic growth, countries can make sure that their citizens have access to nutritious meals as well as financial stability to enjoy them. And Punjab Food Authority is making sure that in case of Punjab for sure. For ensuring this access, food production needs to be ample and adequately rewarded. In addition to, governments must also consider the sustainability of their agriculture practices when designing food policies. And I think one of our farmer friends talked about it as well. Sustainable farming techniques such as no-till farming and integrated pest management help conserve resources and reduce environmental damage while also increasing yield productivity. Global organizations have an important role to play in encouraging and supporting the implementation of these practices by providing technical assistance, sharing best practices, and promoting partnerships between countries. Moreover, international institutions must work together to ensure that food-related funding is properly allocated so that it reaches those who need them the most. And I would urge, institutions like IMF and World Bank and ADB to make this as a center of their discussions while negotiating facilities with the countries. Because of many reasons, a few of them is around 2 trillion losses are globally generated in hidden social, economic, environmental costs due to the inefficiencies in prevailing food system. This results in massive waste, inefficiencies, and contributes to the instability of food system and thus the global economy. Suffice to say, the food system needs to be transformed, and owing to the scale of challenge, it needs to be a concerted effort. The benefits of transforming the global food system and campuses, ending hunger for upwards of 800 million people worldwide, creating over 120 million rural jobs, boosting income for the bottom 20% of the global population, increasing food productivity while decreasing losses and waste, and reversing climate change by protecting biodiversity, reversing deforestation, and restoring soil health. I would like to share with you here a book that I've recently completed. I have read that. I've written a book also, which I talk about later on my experiences, of Thomas Piketty, where he talks about certain projects which are social in nature and has to be pursued globally. And he highlighted there the project of climate change. This cannot be pursued in isolation because the globe is so integrated that it has to be a social project pursued internationally and globally by each and every country. The same goes for food security, by the way. Although he didn't mention it in the book, but when I was reviewing my notes for the talk today, I realized this is a very important element. And it becomes even more important because when we talk about the investment which is required to tackle these gaps, it's around $300 to $400 billion as estimated by the World Bank. But if you put it in context, it's merely 0.5% of the global GDP. It looks steep, but the cost of transformation is actually disproportionately beneficial in terms of return on investment. So unlike environmental compliance, where you have to look at a larger canvas to justify the returns, both qualitative and quantitative, in case of food, there is a direct correlation there. The inputs are expected to be halved over the next 20 years if we pursue this investment. This results in saving of repurposed agriculture subsidies, which is very important in a country like ourselves. I would even go on to say and conclude that it is not something unachievable, given its importance and cruciality for the peoples around the world. Only a global level coordination and alliance is need of the hour, as I discussed with you, that we talked about climate change as a global social project. On the other hand, the agriculture sector in Pakistan has been the main source of economic growth, stability, food security, employment generation, and of course, eventually, poverty alleviation. While the agriculture sector contributes directly 19% to the GDP and 38% to the total workforce, the fact of the matter is that if you look at direct and indirect impact of agriculture, that's around 46%. And there's a research which was done by Bank of Punjab, which is praised by, across the globe by many academia and economists. We have concluded that, we have to put things in context, and agriculture and food becomes very critical when you put the right number to that and their contribution to the economy. More than 70% of the population in some capacity depends on agriculture for livelihood. Agriculture growth in Pakistan has been limited by shrinking arable land, climate change, water shortages, and large-scale rural to urban migrations. For agriculture in Pakistan, the starting point is improvement in the quality of seed and yield enhancement. Mega projects had been pursued by the government of Pakistan. One of the major projects is related to, and I personally believe it's the need of the hour, is on the development of seed, which is called National Seed Enhancement Program. Another one is the National Emergency Program, in which around 11 billion rupees have been allocated, whereby 5,000 rupee per acre of subsidy will be extended for seed and input for canola, sunflower, sesame seed, and 50% on the purchase of oil seed machineries being provided to oil seed growers. And there is a logical reason for it. If you look at the drain on our current account, $2.2 to $2.5 billion comes from imported palm oil. And we have to replace that. I know that, our favorite IMS economist does not like it, but that's my favorite thing, is the substitution, import substitution. Import substitution is the key, and that has to be worked on. Now, coming to the contribution to the agriculture financing, one of the students asked this question, and I have a good news for that student, by the way, later on. One is the fact that, we have been able to surpass as industry, as banking industry, our target of 1.4 trillion last year to 1.7 trillion this year. Despite challenges on climate change, geographic disparity, and high cost of production. This year, the State Bank of Pakistan has given a target of 1.8 trillion to 46 institutions. And I'm quite optimistic that we shall be able to surpass that as well, despite the worst ever floods in the history of our country. The even better news is, and I am a firm believer of this personally, that the allocation of this credit is going in which direction? The allocation of this credit is going 53% to the farming sector. because that will make sure the food security and the quality of food, DG Saab, that you work tirelessly towards. And if I look at, and even better news is that, there has been 8.4% growth to 201 billion rupees for subsistence farm sizes and 86.2 billion for economic farm sizes, above economic farm sizes, which is 12.7% growth over the last year. All very impressive and comforting, but to be honest, not enough. I have to accept this. More needs to be done. Now let's look at the problem areas pertaining to agriculture food system in Pakistan. Number one is land holding. I think there's a lot of talk already happened on it. 90% of the farms are below 5 acres of land. I'm going to condense my speech now, but I leave some time for question and answer. And I know that food is very important for all of us and lunchtime is approaching fast. Mechanization and output optimization. There has been a talk about cooperative farming. Cooperative farming is a starting point towards mechanization and corporatization of farms. And we have a very successful model available in India in this regard, which I slightly talk about later. Access to credit. The dilemma is that our large banks, top 10 banks, dominate 80% of the assets and liabilities of the country. And those 10 banks drive the agenda for the entire sector. And their focus on agriculture sector, by very virtue of their design and business expertise, is not there. So therefore, specialized institution, specialized focuses, promoting linkages between microfinance, agriculture banks, cooperative societies with the banks is the need of the hour. Rapid and unregulated urbanization is another big issue that is hindering the growth of agriculture and food in Pakistan. Number 5, subsidized seed development is lacking. Number 6, as I said, in case of India, they have targeted subsidies, advisory subsidies, and farm mechanization. In our case, all of them is missing. Lack of mechanization, as I alluded earlier. Middlemen margins are unregulated and uncontrolled. Now that menace has to be controlled. And I don't know, it's not the mandate of PFA, but eventually it links into the PFA role as well. And this whole menace of middlemen has to be sorted out. In a nutshell, Pakistan is one of the fastest growing economy in terms of population, but our economic growth is stunted because low investment levels and traditional agriculture modus operandi. There are limited resources, which has consistently been hijacked by poverty, insecurity, and inequality that disproportionately affects rural populations. To address this crisis, the government of Pakistan has implemented various financing strategies. The food security is a major issue in Pakistan, like the rest of the world, with nearly half of its population lacking access to an adequate supply of safe and nutritious food. Food insecurity is compounded by the country's fragile economic and lack of financing options. On such strategy is the establishment of a food security fund, which is to achieve sustainable agriculture production, particularly for the small-scale farmers, through access to capital and resources for modernization. Implementing includes agro-processing initiatives by the government of Pakistan, processing and packaging, and better storage facilities and marketing services. All of them are impaired because of our constraint on the fiscal side. So the role of private sector, and I see some private sector representative here, becomes even more pronounced and important than it's otherwise required. On the excess of financing side, trust me, you filled my heart with joy by asking this question, whoever that was. He was sitting here. So, were you the one? Okay. So the good news for you is that the Prime Minister has, on the 24th January, unveiled Prime Minister's Youth Business and Agriculture Loans Program for people like yourselves, whereby you will get a loan at up to 7.5 million rupees at a highly subsidized rate, up to 7%. It starts from 0% to 7%, which you can use for your development of your business with the age below 45 years. And you can then take your production to the next level. Once that is done, then we have our own products as well, and we'll be happy to talk about it. Although with the high interest rates, those are not very feasible, but from a starting point, that financing is very much available. I know my speech it's too mechanical, so, वो उस तरह का engagement नहीं हो पा रहा, but I'll try and rush and finish it very quickly so that we have more engagement with everybody. A number of export initiatives have also been taken, but I'm not going to get into the details of this. But I must praise what the government of Punjab has done in terms of Smart Punjab program with the support of State World Bank, whereby, it's twofold. One is that, it's environmentally friendly fertilizer, which has been promoted, which right now is merely 22% and 1%, which is phosphate and potash. Moving away, where 77% is right now used in Punjab, is urea. Moving away from urea, which is energy intensive and generates highest level of emissions, climate emissions. Therefore, my 10 recommendations, and I'll move very quickly over them, is one, to enhance and facilitate corporate farming with the starting point of cooperative as the base for it. And the private sector has to play its due role here. Please do not depend on the government of Pakistan or government of Punjab to get involved in this. You can do it yourselves. Set up your own cooperatives and focus towards mechanization through the financing facilities that the government of Pakistan and government of Punjab has extended to you. This has its own benefits. I'm not going to get into the benefits, but it will help you in R&D. It will help you in, higher economies of scale, blah, blah, blah. Number two, academia linkage to facilitate R&D. Dr. Saab is here. हम लोग already at Bank of Punjab have already tied up with the PARC, and we have extended a grant to them to do a research on the seed so that we'll be able to enhance the yield. So if we can do that as private sector, I would expect the other private sector representatives sitting here in the first row to take a step further and please encourage our academia, our research institutions to work on this. This is the biggest deficit that we're facing in terms of our food security today. Number three, we have to reduce our dependence on edible oil. I've talked about it earlier. I'm not going to repeat it again. Number four, land development is required, especially in the unexplored areas like Balochistan and Sindh, where the land mass is big, but it is undeveloped. We need to develop this land and increase the arable land, especially to achieve mechanized farming. Number five, measure to address water usage and supply. Number six, very important, corporate zoning of water-intensive crop like sugarcane and rice. I'm saying that at the expense of myself because sugar is one of our biggest customers base. But this is important for the country. We need to do this zoning. Number seven, availability of fertilizers. Use smart climate agriculture methods, as I've alluded to you earlier. Financial inclusion of farmers, very critical. And the facilities like PM Youth Business Loan, and we are also engaged with the government of Punjab in terms of reviving their e-Kisan product, again, would help in achieving all those objectives of financial inclusion. Number nine, revamp our urbanization model, growth rather than vertical growth, focus on vertical growth rather than on horizontal growth. And if you look at Europe, this is already taking roots. And with urbanization increasing from rural areas, we need to make sure that we will focus on vertical farming in the cities like Lahore, in the progressive cities like Lahore, and the progressive people that Lahoris are. Number 10, and last, we like it or not, despite our fiscal constraints, targeted subsidies are the way to go. We are still far behind from a free economy. We are still far behind from the concept of having pure capitalization. We need to be more realistic about it. And targeted subsidy is the answer to alleviating poverty and promoting financial inclusion. In conclusion, global economy and food policies are inextricably connected. To ensure both economic growth and national food security, it is essential to take steps that yield productivity through modern farming techniques, diversified food sources, geological factors, and collaboration as a global project. Action must be taken to create a more equitable distribution of resources among all nations, as well as to ensure that the nutritional food of all peoples are adequately met. Let's make sure, hope, wish, and pray that everyone around the world can enjoy a nutritious and enjoyable meal every day. Thank you very much. जो हुआ वो बड़ा unfortunate था, which is the least one could say. I mean, losing lives of 98 innocent people was completely, it cannot be justified whatever way you cut it. But I am looking beyond that. By the way, जो दो लोगों को उसने पीछे छोड़ दिया है, उन दो लोगों के भी अपने बहुत सारे जिंदगी के मसाइल हैं. So that has left, the two people who've been left behind, that has left certain scars on them as well. May not be physical, but surely mental scars. And trust me, these mental scars are much more difficult to tackle and handle than the physical scars. Physical damages could be recovered, could be handled, could be taken care of. But it's the psychological impairment which becomes a challenge to overcome. So in the case of us two, there were two survivors. In case of the other gentleman, last time when I met him, he was unable to travel by air because for the only time he tried to travel, the entire episode resurrected in his mind when they were at the peak, when the aircraft was at the peak. And then he decided not to travel. Now in this day and age, he's a young man, he has a full career in front of him. I think it's a major deficit in his life that his commute has become a challenge or a problem. I wish him all the success in overcoming this challenge, but this is certainly a challenge which is very much there, and it is a problem for him. In my case, I had a unique problem of something called survivor's guilt, whereby, I try and avoid funerals, I try and avoid meeting with people, the families, victims' families, because, it gives you, although they may not be in their minds, but it's certainly something heavy on my heart that, they would think that, God, you let this man go and you took our loved ones away. That was not necessary. So I'm trying to live with that situation, but nevertheless, it has left certain scars on us, which we are dealing with in our own ways. I have tried to divert all my energies towards the positive side and not to think too much about this and channelize this into a positive energy. So therefore, I've written a book called, it's a functional name, it's called Least Breath. My favorite song is by a music band called The Coors. There are lots of people of my age bracket who might know this band. Not DJ Saab, you are a younger one, but the others who are here, called Borrowed Heaven. And that song kept me going when I was in my hospital bed recovering for 4 months after my crash. So I'm also toying with the idea to perhaps use this as a title of my book, as Borrowed Heaven. And in that book, I have covered the 10 experiences that I have learned post-crash. I will not get into the details of those 10 learnings. I want to keep some kind of, excitement for you, that when the book comes, you immediately grab to it. But let me share a few of them with you. So, for example, rituals are not the end or and be all. Rituals are important. They put discipline in your life. They put some kind of sanity in your setup. We need to be very clear, and this is especially for our younger crowd here today, that you need to figure out how you want to be remembered in life, and more so post life. So you need to figure out today, and then all your actions will drive in that direction, and that will set your value system also. Just think how you are when you are not in this world. How would you be remembered? Number 3, do not shy away from taking bold steps. I'm not saying take aggressive steps, wahan se chhalang laga de niche. Don't do that. But take calculated, bold moves, because without bold moves, you will not be able to make the difference from your peers. And in this competitive world, that's the starting point. Mudassar, Riaz, Malik is a classic example of that. He goes a level further, try and break that ceiling of monotony in the public sector to make a difference. अच्छा जी, एक चीज़ मैं आप लोगों से और जो यही लर्निंग्स में जो चौथी लर्निंग एक और है बड़ी इम्पोर्टेंट, वो ये है कि क्लियर ऑल योर ड्यूज़. एंड मैं जब ड्यूज़ की बात करता हूँ तो पैसे तो वापस करने ही करने हैं जिससे लिए हुए हैं, और ख़ास तौर से बैंक को तो प्लीज़ वापस कर दें, ज़रूर हमें बड़ी पैसों की ज़रूरत है. बट आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट इमोशनल ड्यूज़. देयर आर इमोशनल ड्यूज़ ऑन ईच वन ऑफ अस. Whatever we need to say to anyone that's important in your life, that you look up to, that you give importance to, say it now, because the time may not allow you to do that. And I can tell you from my experience, that I didn't even in my dreams thought that this would happen to me. I thought I'll reach Karachi in 1.5 hours, and then the world changed. There are other learnings also, but last one I want to leave you with is connected with this mood today as well, is communication. Please communicate, please talk, please discuss your issues. Please come out and share your experiences. Communication is very important. In fact, if there was better communication between the pilot and the control tower and the pilot and the passengers, then this disaster could have been averted. And at least with the passengers, if they were warned beforehand, then some people would have been survived from this very unfortunate accident. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. We all wish both of you a success in your life, sir. And thank you very much for sharing your views on food economy and financing. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some time for the question to our worthy speaker, Zafar Masud Saab, President of Bank of Punjab. Question from the audience, please. Yes, please.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर. सर, आपके साथ ही इंसिडेंट हुआ. यू आर ए मेजर बिजनेसमैन. अब सर जो क्रैश हुआ उससे पहले भी आपकी कुछ प्रायोरिटीज़ होंगी. आप बिज़नेस को देख रहे होंगे, सारी चीज़ें देख रहे होंगे. और सर जैसे हम यूथ हैं, हमारा एक माइंड सेट होता है कि हमने ये करना है, वो करना है. आपके साथ भी सर ऐसे ही होगा. आपकी एक अप्रोच होगी लाइफ की क्रैश से पहले, और क्रैश के बाद आपकी अप्रोच ऑब्वियसली टोटली डिफरेंट हो गई होगी. आप स्टिल बिजनेस को भी देख रहे हैं, और आपकी जो अप्रोच है मैं वो सुनना चाह रहा हूँ कि आपकी बिजनेस की अप्रोच और जो आपने मेंशन किया है कि रिलीजियस विजुअल जो आपने किया है, गॉड माइट बी एक्सपेक्टिंग समथिंग एल्स फ्रॉम अस, तो सर वो जब दोनों चीज़ें मिली हैं तब आपकी जो अपनी अप्रोच है वो क्या है सर? सर काइंडली वो शेयर करें.
बहुत अच्छा सवाल पूछा है और मुझे इतनी खुशी हो रही है कि हमारी यूथ ने ये सवाल पूछा है. सो रियली आई एम वेरी प्राउड ऑफ यू ऑल. सो होता ये है कि इस किस्म के वाक़े से पहले ना बहुत सारी चीज़ें जो होती हैं वो टेंटेटिव होती हैं आपकी ज़िंदगी में. एंड इन माई केस एज वेल, certain ideas and thoughts and management style and dealing with people was all very tentative. So one big learning, the overarching learning that has come out from this accident, which was tentative before and then was reinforced, was the fact that people are inherently good people. Or this clip of mine is viral as well on social media these days. We need to trust in their goodness. We need to trust in their judgment. We need to give leeway to people, not just in business, but in our real lives as well. We need to give them chances. 99% people come around and deliver. But we need to be more generous, open-hearted, and agree and look in the goodness of people. So this was tentative before. होता ये है कि आपके कुछ ज़िंदगी में ऐसे सेटबैक लग जाते हैं कि जिसकी वजह से आप ये सोचने लगते हैं कि यार बस ये देखो ना, ये लोग तो होते ही ऐसे. Don't do that. Keep this as a one-off accident or incident. But generally people are not like that. For example, that keep your faith in people. And faith in people is the only thing possible, whether it's business or otherwise, that keeps you going as a good individual and a successful professional.
Indeed, sir, you are inspiration to all of us, sir. Any other question from the audience? Please introduce yourself and then have a question.
That your survival was due to the well wishes and prayers of your employees. Thank you.
Talking about the
इस पे
employees.
मुझे बड़ी मार पड़ी है बाय द वे इस बात पे. मेरे जो फेलो सीईओज हैं ना, और आप जो इस पर डीजी साहब को भी स्पॉट पे डाल रहे हैं ना, ये मुझे बड़ी इस पे गालियाँ पड़ी सबसे कि यार तुमने क्या मुसीबत डाल दी है. वो जब हम जाते हैं तो वो कहते हैं वो देखें वो बच गया था वहाँ, बिकॉज उसने वो कोविड का स्पेशल बोनस दिया था. तो तुसी भी सोच लो, तुसी ट्रैवल करने लगे हो. अच्छा जी, फैक्ट ऑफ द मैटर इसमें ये है कि दिस वाज नॉट माय डूइंग. मैं कोई, ये भी एक लर्निंग है बाय द वे फॉर द यूथ. डोंट क्लेम, ओवर क्लेम योर सेल्फ. अच्छा, ये हमारे लाहौरियों में बड़ी आदत है बाय द वे. ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਨਾ ਵੱਡੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬੜੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ. ਉਹ ਜੀ मैं तो यह करता हूँ, कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है. जो है वो है, यही है, इस तरह ही है. दूसरी बात ये है, दूसरे का क्रेडिट कभी ना खाओ. अगर उसका क्रेडिट बनता है तो तारीफ करो उसकी कि हाँ यार इसी का क्रेडिट इसी को दो. اس سے آپ کی جو ہے نا وہ آپ بڑے آدمی بن کے سامنے آتے ہیں, آپ کے بارے میں دوسرے لوگوں کا ویو بڑھتا ہے. دس از واٹ میٹرز ان لائف ایونچولی. نتھنگ مور نتھنگ لیس از امپورٹنٹ. ٹرسٹ می, میرے کریش کے کچھ دنوں تک مجھے نہیں پتا تھا میں زندہ ہوں یا میں مر گیا ہوں. اینڈ میں جو لوگوں کا ریئیکشن دیکھ رہا تھا, میں اس سے آپ کو بتا رہا ہوں کہ ایز اف ان کو بھی نہیں پتا تھا میں زندہ ہوں یا میں مر گیا ہوں. تو دیئر ریئیکشنز میڈ می ریئلائز کہ واٹ از امپورٹنٹ ان لائف آفٹر ڈیتھ. سو آپ کا جو سوال ہے بھائی, وہ میرا کریڈٹ نہیں ہے, وہ میرے آنے سے پہلے ہمارے بورڈ نے ہمارے اس وقت کے ایکٹنگ پریزیڈنٹ کی ریکمنڈیشن پہ وہ ایک بونس ریکمینڈ کیا تھا. کووڈ کے زمانے میں وی ور دی اونلی آرگنائزیشن which gave that bonus to our front office staff, because it was a vulnerable situation for them. میں اس کا کریڈٹ لوگ مجھے ضرور دیتے ہیں, اور اس ایکسٹینٹ تک میں اس کا کریڈٹ ضرور لے سکتا ہوں کہ میرے آنے سے پہلے یہ میرا ڈیسیشن تھا کہ میں وہ ڈسبرس کرتا یا نہیں کرتا. میں نے ڈیسائیڈ کیا کہ میں ڈسبرس وہ کروں گا, لیکن اس کے اپروول کا کریڈٹ میرا نہیں ہے, وہ میری ٹیم کا کریڈٹ ہے. نوفل اس کا حصہ ہے, اسد اس کا حصہ ہے, ظفر اس کا حصہ ہے, امین اس کا حصہ ہے. یہ ان سب کا کریڈٹ ہے.
So you guided us to give the due credit to the...
Sorry.
Sir, please.
میں اس پہ ایک بات سلائٹلی لائٹر نوٹ کہہ دوں کہ شاید کریش سے بچنے کی وجہ جو ہے نا وہ بونس نہیں تھا. تو مدثر تسی آرام نال ٹریول کرو, کوئی مسئلہ نہیں.
سر ڈیو کریڈٹ کی بات آپ نے کی, ڈیو شیئر کی بات کی, ڈیو ایکنالجمنٹ کی بات کی. سو وی ہیو ون یوتھ فرام دیئر ٹو ہیو کوشچن. سر پہلے ان کو, دین آپ سے نیکسٹ رن آپ کے پاس کر لیتے ہیں. سر
السلام علیکم سر. سر آپ نے کی فوڈ, ایگری اینڈ فنانس کی بات. سر ہمارا ملک جو ہے وہ ایگریکلچر کنٹری کے طور پہ جانا جاتا ہے, لیکن سر کیا یہ ایک جوائنٹ وینچر نہیں ہونا چاہیے ایٹ ڈسٹرکٹ لیول, جہاں پر سر یہ ہو سکتا ہے کہ ایچ ڈسٹرکٹ سر, ایچ ٹاؤن بینک بھی ہے, ایگریکلچر ڈپارٹمنٹ بھی ہے سر, اور فوڈ اتھارٹی بھی ہے, فوڈ ڈپارٹمنٹ بھی ہے. تو سر کیا یہ نہیں ہو سکتا کہ ہم ان کو فیسیلیٹیٹ کریں, کیونکہ ہمارا فارمر جو ہے وہ ٹیکنالوجی کی طرف نہیں آ رہا ہے. تو ایک جوائنٹ وینچر ہو, جسٹ لائک انکیوبیشن سینٹر ہو جائے, جس میں سر تینوں ادارے, کیونکہ یہ تینوں ادارے ہیں, فنانس بھی ہے, ایگریکلچر بھی ہے, فوڈ بھی ہے, تو ایک جوائنٹ وینچر ہو یا انکیوبیشن سینٹر ہو جس میں ان کو ٹرانسفارم کیا جائے. ہماری پروڈکٹیوٹی تو بڑھ سکتی ہے نا سر اس سے. اس کے بارے میں آپ کیا کہتے ہیں سر؟
بہترین. آپ مجھے کہیں گے یار نماز کا ٹائم ہو گیا, نماز پڑھنے چلیں, میں کہوں گا ہاں چلیں. یہ بالکل آپ 100% ٹھیک کہہ رہے ہیں, 100% کریکٹ تھنگ ہے. The question however is who will make the move and do it. Okay? And trust me, nobody will do it for us. We have to do it ourselves. And youth will do it. You people have to do it. You are a better generation with better exposure and better value system than our generation. I would expect you to take the lead on this and take it forward. ہم بڈھے کھڈوں کو اپنے ساتھ لے کے چلیں, مگر you have to move it forward. Build that pressure group on us. Build that influence on us. And this is the need of the hour. Without that, we will hit the brick wall.
So you have to do for ourselves. جی سر آپ کا سوال. جی
السلام علیکم. جی I am Nayyar Syal, working to provide feed for dairy animals in shape of silage. میری اس حوالے سے ایک پرپوزل تھی کہ ظفر مسعود صاحب بھی ہیں, مدثر ریاض صاحب بھی بیٹھے ہیں, کہ ہم فارمر کو یہ تو کہہ رہے ہیں کہ آپ پاسچرائز کریں, پیک کریں, لیکن فارم یہ بات سن لے گا, اس پہ عمل درآمد صرف اسی صورت ہو سکے گا جب اسے کوئی پاسچرائزنگ فیسلٹی ملے گی. ہمارے یہاں لاہور میں تقریباً 4 سے 6 آؤٹلیٹس ہیں جہاں پہ ملک پرووائڈ ہو رہا ہے یہاں, لیکن کسی پوائنٹ پہ چیکنگ تو ہے تھانے دار کی طرح, پر پاسچرائزنگ فیسلٹی, پیکنگ فیسلٹی نہیں ہے. اگر بینک فوڈ اتھارٹی کے ساتھ یا لائف اسٹاک ڈپارٹمنٹ کے ساتھ, یا لائف اسٹاک ڈپارٹمنٹ کی 2 کمپنیز ہیں, پیمکو اینڈ PLDDB, جس میں PLDDB آلریڈی یہ کام کر رہی ہے, جو یہاں پہ لاہور پاسچرائزڈ اور پیک مل پرووائڈ کر رہی ہے, تو گورنمنٹ ایسی فیسلٹی ود دا کوآرڈینیشن آف بینک ان آؤٹ لیٹس پہ پرووائڈ کرے جہاں پہ پاسچرائزنگ فیسلٹی ہو, پیکنگ فیسلٹی ہو, فارمر اپنا دودھ لائیں اور وہ وہاں سے پاسچرائز اور پیک کروائیں, اور جو کاسٹ اس کی بنتی ہے وہ اس کو چارج کیا جائے. ادروائز اگر ہم جتنی دفعہ بھی کہتے رہیں گے اس کی امپلیمنٹیشن بہت مشکل ہوگی, اور کسی بھی امپلیمنٹیشن کے لیے سب سے پہلے گورنمنٹ کو اسٹیپ لینا پڑتا ہے, ایک ماڈل دکھانا پڑتا ہے, دین فارمرز اس کو فالو کرتے ہیں. تھینک یو.
بہت اچھی بات کی آپ نے. ایک منٹ مائک رہنے دیجیے گا, میری ایجوکیشن ہے اس میں 2 چیزوں پہ, تو میں پوچھنا چاہ رہا ہوں اس کی ٹوٹل ایک فیسلٹی کی قیمت کتنی آتی ہے؟
اس کے 2 قسم کے پاسچرائزر ہیں. ایک جو چھوٹا پاسچرائزر ہے وہ تو راؤنڈ اباؤٹ 1 ملین میں مل جاتا ہے.
1 ملین
1 ملین 10 لاکھ میں. اور جو پیچ پاسچرائزر ہیں جس طرح بڑی کمپنیز اپنی فیکٹریز میں کرتی ہیں اس کی کاسٹ زیادہ ہے. وہ ڈپینڈ کرتا ہے آپ کی پیکنگ اینڈ پاسچرائزنگ چھوٹے پاسچرائزر
کتنے چاہیے ہوں گے وہ.
لیکن یہ چونکہ یہاں پہ ملینز آف لیٹر ڈیلی آ رہا ہے تو ایز اے ماڈل اس کو آپ کسی بھی جگہ پہ ٹھوکر پہ یا رائیوڈ
تو
روڈ
حضور
پہ
آپ ایک کام کیجئے نا, یہ پرائم منسٹر یوتھ بزنس لون کے اندر آپ کو 5% پہ یہ مل جائے گا, اور اگر آپ 2 آدمی لے آئیں تو 5-5 لاکھ روپے کا انٹرسٹ فری مل جائے گا آپ کو. آپ یہ لے کے آ جائیں, ہم کرنے کو تیار ہیں اس کو. پرائیویٹ سیکٹر شوڈ ڈیولپ اے سسٹم اراؤنڈ اٹ. آپ کو 7.5 ملین تک پرائم منسٹر بزنس لون میں اجازت ہے. آپ اس کے پروپوزیشن بنا کے لائیے باقی بھائیوں کے ساتھ مل کے, and we'll be happy to fund this at 5%.
گورنمنٹ کی کنسٹرینٹس ہیں. سر کا کوشچن ہے, سر مدثر صاحب کا, کائنڈلی کامنٹ یا کوشچن سر سے لیجیے گا. گورنمنٹ کی کنسٹرینٹ کے ساتھ ساتھ انٹیگریٹڈ اپروچ کی بات سر کی طرف سے بھی آئی. وی شیل ہیو این انٹیگریٹڈ اپروچ. جی سر پلیز.
دیکھیے ان کے جو کوشچن میں اس پہ سر آپ کی بات پہ ایڈ صرف کرنا چاہ رہا ہوں اسی کو, کیونکہ اس کا ماڈل ڈیولپ ہم کر چکے ہیں, اس پہ آلریڈی کام ہو رہا ہے, اور ماڈل میں اوبیسلی گورنمنٹ فیسیلیٹیٹ کرے گی, ہمیں بینک کی فیسلٹی چاہیے ہوگی اس کی. یہ بہت زیادہ اس میں انویسٹمنٹ ریکوائرمنٹ ہے. ہم پرائیویٹ سیکٹر کو ہی لے کے آنا چاہ رہے ہیں, پرائیویٹ سیکٹر کو فائنینسنگ کروانا چاہ رہے ہیں. اور جو یہ اگر ہم صرف لاہور کی بات کریں تقریباً 3.8 ملین لیٹرز ملک یہاں پر ڈیلی آتا ہے, اور اس کو ڈیلی آنے کو پاسچرائز کر کے لانا ہے ہم نے. اور پاسچرائز کر کے اگر لاتے ہیں تو ہمیں فیسلٹیز ڈیولپ کرنی پڑیں گی. وہ گورنمنٹ آبویسلی سارے انویسٹمنٹ خود تو نہیں کر سکتی, کسی حد تک کرے گی. الٹیمیٹلی بینکس کو لانا پڑے گا, پرائیویٹ سیکٹر کو لانا پڑے گا. ماڈل اس کا بنا ہوا ہے, تو میں آپ انشاءاللہ آپ سے بھی ہم شیئر کریں گے, اور اس پہ تھوڑا سا ہمیں یہ میچور ہو جائے پھر ہم بینکس کو اور اسپیشلی سر بینک آف پنجاب کو اس پہ ضرور انوالو کریں گے فائنینسنگ فیسلٹی ڈیولپ کرنے کے.
سر لیٹ می کمٹ ان فرنٹ آف ایوری بڈی ہیئر, بینک آف پنجاب از فلی کمیٹڈ ٹو اینی سچ انیشیٹو کمنگ فرام یو.
So PFA is also open for the farmer with the support of the banks. Any other last question ji? Just a last question on the front side. Ji.
Hello. Assalamu alaikum sir.
آپ اس شکریہ سر بہتر نظر آ رہے ہیں اس لیے میں تو دیکھ رہا ہوں, ورنہ مجھے پتا آپ کا.
جی سر, میں نے بہت ویٹ کیا کویسچن کا. میں نے سب سے پہلے جو نا کھڑا کیا تھا, لیکن وہ مائک نہیں آ سکا میرے پاس.
جی
سر میرا نا 2 کویسچن ہے, ایک فوڈ سیکورٹی کے حوالے سے اور ایک کاٹیج انڈسٹری کے حوالے سے ہیں. جو فوڈ سیکورٹی ہے وہ اگر میں انڈیا کی بات کروں, باسمتی چاول کی جو لینڈ ہے ان کے پاس وہ 20% ہماری لینڈ سے کم ہے. لیکن یہ
جی چل رہا ہے پلیز.
وہ تھوڑا سا
تھوڑا
چل پڑتا ہے.
جی
کنٹینیو کریں.
جی تو میں بات کر رہا تھا یہ فوڈ سیکورٹی کے حوالے سے. جو انڈیا کی جو باسمتی چاول کا جو بیلٹ ہے وہ 20% پاکستان کی جو لینڈ ہے جو گرو جس پہ باسمتی چاول کم ہے. میرا خیال ہے ایشو مائک میں ہے. جب
آپ پلیز کویسچن کیجیے, آواز آ رہی ہے, دین وی کین ٹرانسلیٹ. جی پلیز کنٹینیو. جی پلیز بولیے تو صحیح. آپ
کمیونیکیشن ہوگی تو پھر کویسچن ہوگا نا, ایسا تو نہیں ہو سکتا.
سر آپ سوال پوچھیے.
جی تو میرا کویسچن یہ ہے کہ ہم نے ہاؤسنگ سوسائٹی کو پروموٹ کر رہے ہیں, اپنی ساری لینڈ ہاؤسنگ سوسائٹی میں دن بہ دن جا رہی ہے, اور وہ جو ہمارا بیلٹ ہے جسے ہم امپورٹ کر کے ایکسپورٹ کر کے جو ہم ڈالرز کما سکتے ہیں اس کو ہم ضائع کر رہے ہیں. اس کے اوپر پنجاب بینک کیا اس کو پروموٹ اگر کوئی ڈیمانڈ کرتا ہے اس حوالے سے لون کی، تو کیا آپ ریفیوز کرتے ہیں یا گورنمنٹ کی کیا اس حوالے سے کیا انیشیٹو ہے؟ دوسرا کویسچن ہے ہمارا میرا،
آپ کہہ رہے ہیں کہ ہم اس کو لون ریفیوز کرتے ہیں اگر وہ ہاؤسنگ اسکیم کے لیے لے کے آ رہا ہے ایگریکلچر لینڈ کو کنورٹ کرا کے؟
بالکل، اس کی آپ فیزیبلٹی رپورٹ دیکھتے ہیں کہ وہ کون سی بیلٹ میں ہاؤسنگ سوسائٹی کا پروجیکٹ لے کے آ رہا ہے یا نہیں؟
دیکھتے ہیں، مگر ہم اس کو ایز اے ہاؤسنگ سوسائٹی دیکھتے ہیں نا. اب اگر سرکار نے اس کو الاؤ کر دیا کہ ہاؤسنگ سوسائٹی بنا لو تو ہم اس کو تو نہیں روک سکتے. بٹ آپ کی تھاٹ میں سمجھ رہا ہوں آپ کہاں سے آ رہے ہیں، میں آپ کی تھاٹ کو سمجھ رہا ہوں. We need to collectively as a society discourage this. This is the idea. And then banks should also play their role. It's a good thought. We can think about it کہ ہم اس کو کس طرح اور انٹیگریٹ کر سکتے ہیں. دوسرا سوال،
سیکنڈ کویسچن ہے کاٹیج انڈسٹری کے حوالے سے. آج بھی ہم اگر یہ پرنٹنگ کرنی ہے تو اس کی جو کلر ہے، ڈائی ہے، وہ ہمیں امپورٹ کرنا.
کریکٹ.
تو اس کے حوالے سے ہم کیا کر سکتے ہیں؟
ہاں دیکھیے، وہ میں نے اس طرح آپ سے کہا نا، وہ بڑی انٹرنیشنل فائنینشیل انسٹیٹیوشنز جو ہمارے ہیں ان کی بڑی ایک نیگیٹو اس کے اوپر پوائنٹ آف ویو ہوتا ہے کہ جی امپورٹ سبسٹیٹیوشن کی بات نہ کریں. میں تو اس پہ بہت فرم بلیور ہوں. اچھا، اب اس میں دو چیزیں ہیں. اس میں یہ ہے کہ امپورٹ سبسٹیٹیوشن کیوں نہیں ہو سکتی؟ وہ اس لیے نہیں ہو سکتی کہ غالباً ہمارے پاس وہ اسکل سیٹ نہیں ہے یا ہمارے پاس وہ انگریڈینٹس نہیں ہیں جن کی ضرورت ہے. So that's where the linkage between academia, government, research institutions come in handy, and perhaps corporate sector as well, to devise a plan of import substitution. It is a whole mechanics, by the way. It's a science which has to be worked on. اس کو آپ بے شک جو ایک ڈلیشن پروگرام ہوتا ہے آٹو انڈسٹری کے اندر، perhaps in the agriculture side on chemicals and dyes that you're talking about, a similar deletion program is required, and slowly and gradually we move away from the imported stuff or dependence on the imported stuff to create our own system there. Usme at times viability ka issue bhi aata hai. That's where the role of the government comes in. Nevertheless, it has to be done in collaboration with all the stakeholders working together.
Thank you very much. Let's big round of applause for our worthy speaker. And to honor our worthy presenter, I would request the Honorable Director General Punjab Food Authority to please come on stage and present the souvenir to our Honorable presenter, Mr. Zafar Masud Saab. Sir, please.
اچھا جی، میں اس سب کی تالیاں انہوں نے سب کے لیے بنوائی ہیں، بٹ میں آپ کو بتاؤں یہ نوفل از اے وٹنس ٹو دس. میں بالکل یہ میک اپ نہیں کر رہا، اس لیے میں نے کہا نوفل از اے وٹنس. میرے کولیگ ہیں نوفل، ساتھ ہی یہاں سامنے بیٹھے ہوئے. آئی تھنک ڈاکٹر صاحب ہیز ڈن اے بریلینٹ جاب ان ماڈریٹنگ the previous and this session as well. So he deserves a round of applause as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.